What's going on, world, today? How you doing this fabulous Friday? It's a nice sun-filled day. Always look out of my office window here in the city of Chicago. I'm your girl, Marky Lemons Rao, with Industry Syndicate, your number one place for all real estate podcasts. And you know what? I got to tell this dude sitting next to me, I miss you, Joe. What's going on today?
Oh wow, Marky, I miss you too. It's I can't believe it's been already over a year since the whole pandemic, and it was crazy. Here we were traveling all over the country. You were speaking on the Secrets live tour, and next thing everything shut down. So it's been crazy, and it's I can't believe, it just doesn't feel like it's already been over a year. It's hard to believe, but it's really nice to see that I think things are starting to get back to normal. Hopefully, I know that as far as like webinar or live events for us, we've pushed those back because we didn't know at the beginning of the year, and hopefully that by the end of the year we can start doing some live events again. It's always fun to get in front of people.
It is always fun to get in front of people, and it was like we had a really good rhythm going on when they sent us home on Friday, March the 13th, 2020, right?
Yeah.
And we had all of 2020 planned. We had come out of very successful 2019, and you did something really amazing. You launched your second international best-selling book in the midst of a pandemic with great success. And so we both work with homes.com. You're an employee. I'm an independent contractor. We were going into these different marketplaces, teaching realtors about the secrets of top selling agents. And so what I wanted to do today, because we did do a podcast interview, I wanted to come and talk more about the secrets of top selling agents, because essentially we have lived through three markets in the midst of the past 14 months, right? We had what was normal to us, we had pandemic, and now we have what is it going to look like in the future, right? So essentially three totally different real estate markets, but there's some things that are in your books, right, that agents are going to do regardless to what those three markets are. So
Absolutely.
I want everybody to come join us at markylimits.live. That will take you directly to our Amazon Live Creator channel. Also, on any platform, you can type in your questions for Joe. Joe is a two-time international best-selling author. He probably provides more leads, right, than anybody else to real estate professionals in the country. So, you know what? When I look at the secrets of top selling agents, and anybody, you can pick up a copy today. Actually, you can pick up the first edition and the second edition, but I'm gonna just do a little bragging, right? Because I think I'm over here in chapter 2, right? And I talked about Instagram. And if we were to look at Instagram has not slowed down in the midst of a pandemic. They've come out with Instagram Reels. They're consistently making updates. Joe, what is one update you think that a real estate agent should be making right now as they position themselves to emerge back into the market full-time, face-to-face, as if a pandemic never happened? What would be that one thing you're hearing?
Well, I think obviously nationwide we're having a serious inventory issue, and it's at first I thought, oh, maybe it's just regional, but it's everywhere. And so I think as people are trying to get back into things, one of the things that we did during the pandemic, which we're actually going to keep because of this hot market. So during the pandemic, you had a situation where a lot of people didn't feel comfortable going into a house because they didn't know if there was COVID or whatever. So they were worried. So what we offered on our website was an opportunity for an agent to do essentially FaceTime, where they would go to the house. They would FaceTime and the buyer would say, hey, can you go back into the master bedroom and take a look at it? And, can you go back into the kitchen? And I want to see those cabinets again. And can you open up the whatever. So they would do all that. And it was a huge success because it gave people the opportunity to get inside the house in real time as their agent was doing it for them, so they can connect that way. Here's the thing. Because of the pandemic, you have a lot of people that have bought second homes, a lot of people that have now relocated. But now you got a situation where if I go, by the time I make an appointment to go look at a house, if I have to look at a house tomorrow, there could be 10 offers on it by the time I go look at it. It could be completely sold, and that's happening everywhere. So we've kept that. So where now I could say, look, I haven't seen the house yet, but I love the neighborhood. I love the schools. Can you do me a favor and just go to the house right away? And now the agent can actually do that and do this FaceTime, right through that. And that is we can enable that through our platform at homes.com. When you see a property that you like, you can just click request video tour. And when we say video tour, I know that sometimes you think of a video tour as shooting like a virtual tour in a video. We basically think about it as a real tour. Like I'm literally touring in the house with video live, going, streaming to the agent. And we're doing this with virtual open houses still as well like that. But yeah, that to me, I think is going to stick around for a while just because the market's been so hot. So that's something that I do as people emerge. It's a great technology that people use when they had to because of COVID. But now I think it's something they can do to actually get that edge to get in that property before, you lose out on it.
So what I'm hearing, well, one, I'm going to say something about the past and then what I'm hearing. The first thing is I recorded a video back in 2016 on how to use Facebook Live for live streaming open houses. The video was not popular in 2016. The video saw like a 2,000% uptick in views in April of 2020 because now people understood its value. What I'm hearing, right, based on what you just said, is that every listing agent, the day they list that property, should also schedule a virtual tour of the property. They might not even need to hold an open house and have all of those bids submitted, and actually might even say they will get first preference view, right? Because now you might get those best offers by previewing that property, especially if you're in a marketplace. There is a tool that you can use that tells you the migration that people are buying in your area are not from that area. Yesterday, Dale Chumley, past president, actually, I think we went to Dale's house when we were in Portland, Oregon, right? Anyway, he just purchased a house in Cleveland. Now, at the moment, the past president of the Washington Realtors purchases a house in Cleveland, Ohio. You're thinking, let me go look at these numbers, right? I'm almost sure he might not have personally gone to Cleveland in order to buy that house. So when we start looking at Arizona, because a lot of people are leaving California, when we look at Indianapolis, because a lot of people are leaving Chicago, going to Indianapolis and Columbus, the mass majority of the buyers might be relocating anyway. And so I'm loving that whole idea about that preview of the property. And I think that that is definitely something as we go back, right, into our new normal, we will see more of. But what I'm hearing are hybrid. So people now want me to come to the location, do a live training, but also offer a live streaming video component to that face-to-face class. And so I think moving forward, we're going to see more hybrid. Now, as I take a look at this book, you got Alexis in here, top producer. We got Michael Mayer. I've interviewed him, 7 Levels of Communication. We got Lee Brown, saw her beautiful face today at NARB Board of Directors meeting. And then we definitely paid tribute, or you did, to Howard Britton. What is, when you look at your 2 books of Secrets of Top Selling Agents, what's one thing that you believe was repeated in both books because it has worked consistently?
Well, what was repeated in both books was the whole, because you look at, I think for somebody who doesn't not familiar with the Secrets brand and webinar series, they'd say, well, you have, you have 2 of the same title. They're actually slightly different titles, but the main title is Secrets of Top Selling Agents. What's consistent about both of them is we basically take the webinar, and for the original idea behind the first book was, I looked at the, just the people we've had on the webinar. Now, we've had Secrets of Top Selling Agents has been going on since 2007. It's one of the oldest running webinars, probably the oldest might be the oldest real estate running webinar. It's still going today, 14 years later. And the thing is that we've had all these huge names in the industry, including, of course, yourself, Marky. Numerous times you've been on there, and it's like I was looking at it. I just finished my MBA, and I was looking for something to do. I was every night for 3 hours I'd be in class, and once I was done, I was like, man, I got this huge void of time. What am I going to do? And I was a frequent interviewer. I'd be on the Secrets as well, along with Deb and whoever our guest was. And I started thinking about was, wait a minute, does everybody know about this? Because I would go to a live event. I'd say, how many of you in the audience have seen Secrets? And like one person might raise their hand. And I'm thinking, well, all the agents out there with all this great information, there's just got to be a better way to deliver this to people. So I decided to write a book, and I did it in 100% secrecy. I didn't tell anybody, not even at my company, because I was worried that they were either going to take it away from me and let somebody else do it, or I was worried that they were going to say, no, let's turn it into an ebook. And, I just always want to be, I like the tangible books. I still love to be able to hold on to something. And so I was like, you know what, in secrecy, I took my favorite episodes and I wrote basically the synopsis of the episode. But if the speaker was pitching a book, so for example, first book, Gary Keller's on there talking about the one thing. I read it. I went out, I bought the one thing, I read it, and then I would add to it, because in a 45-minute to 1 hour webinar, you can't really cover everything. So if you missed something that I thought was really important to put into this chapter, I put it in there from the book. And so I did that. And the first book came out, and when I first presented it to my boss, it was funny, because I was Chris Smith, he wrote the foreword for the first book. He said, what you need to do is you need to go to a site like Lulu, and you have to get, or like to like Amazon, to get like one or two books put together. I put together my first book. I had it printed with a little cover, no cover design, nothing like that. I just said I wanted to look as professional as possible. I went down, I threw the book down on my boss's desk. I said, this is our next project. And he said, okay. And he couldn't believe it, because it was complete secrecy. So we had like 4 copies. I don't even have the original copy anymore. Gave them out to people in my company. So Amazon was our publisher. Amazon was our publisher for book 1 and book 2. And what was great about that was we were able to, it took about, this was December of 2015. It took 20 months for us to go through budgeting, go through editing, and then finding our publisher, going through that with Amazon. We went through Amazon Publishing. And then we finally launched in September of 2017. So for anybody out there who wants to write a book, don't give up, don't get discouraged, because it took me not only a year to write it, but 20 months then to get published. And once it was published, Marky, the best feeling was having getting the bestseller. Patty McNeese came up to me about in 2019 and said, we want you to write a second book. Now, at first I was like, oh, you know what? Well, I've already done the first one. Why do we do this? But, there was so much content on there. And I said, and after I started thinking about it, I said, okay, here's what I want to do. The first book was more about, okay, here's my favorite episodes. And they were all different, which was great. But the second book, I wanted to have a real theme behind it. I really wanted to have and I thought about things that were not in book 1. So for example, like how to build a team. And today people want to have a real estate team. And so it wasn't really discussed in book 1. And I think for me personally, as a realtor, I wanted a team. I wanted an assistant. And Mark, you probably get this a lot from agents, is that the biggest challenge for me was during the busy summer months, I have no problem delegating stuff. I have a lot of stuff going on. But during the winter months, I'd be worried that we'd both be just sitting around twiddling our thumbs with nothing to do. So Lee Brown has a chapter in there that's dedicated to that. And it's really a great chapter, because she talks about like everything from the job description that you should put out when you want to publish it. She talks about like who the first person you should hire, who's the second person you should hire, who's the third. And it's pretty amazing, because these are type of things that are exactly what somebody like myself, who had no idea of who to hire, what to look for in that first hire, goes for. So I love that. But also, like, for example, your chapter with social media, there's so many different things you can do with Instagram. And I know that I was writing it, I'm like, well, by the time this gets published, Instagram layout could be completely different. But I did add in there, because this is what you said. Hey, by the way, if anything's changed, all you have to do is Google, and you can get all the new changes, any new changes that came up with Instagram or anything like that. So that was just one example. But the second book was more geared towards building a team, habits and mindsets. Because what do top producing agents do? Are they just lucky all the time? No, they actually, a lot of them share the same characteristics as to their morning routine, their evening routine, how they prioritize their day. and then also real estate investing, which is something that I think a lot of people, when they get into real estate, they get into the business because they eventually want to own some investment real estate. And I think for a lot of people, it somehow down the road, it keeps getting kicked down the road and they don't do it. So I brought in a couple chapters about real estate investing in this where it's dynamic, because like I got Dirk Zeller on there talking about it. And I have a couple other chapters about real estate investing from different perspectives. That's kind of what I wanted to bring in. So there's actually like four different cornerstones of this book that are a recurring theme through there, but with a different angle coming in each way. So that's really the common theme is the secrets webinar series, because they all come from the webinar. None of this stuff was something that I just decided to make up, but these are all, they're all different chapters, different speakers on there. I think in the latest book, we have something like 13 or 14 different speakers, including yourself in there. And again, but everything came from the actual webinar, which anybody can, listen to or still see to this day.
Well, let me say this. When we go to Lee Brown, because a lot of people have approached me in regards to wanting a team, they want team education. I know the Real Estate Business Institute has full-fledged training, but when should I start building my team? This is what Lee Brown stated. You should start building your team when you feel one or more of the following. You have a work-life imbalance. You regularly feel overwhelmed with work. You feel that you have hit a ceiling in your income level. Brown said, building a team isn't for everyone, but you should have done this yesterday. That sounds like Lee, right? What she means is there is always something you can delegate to another person. So a full-fledged chapter just from Lee Brown. If you haven't had the chance, you can come over to markylemons.live and pick up your copy. And I'm going to recommend both copies. Now, the difference in the title, the first one was Secrets of Top Selling Agents, the Key of Real Estate Success Revealed. And then the second one is Secrets of Top Selling Agents, Habits, Mindsets, and Tactics of Real Estate Super Producers. And you mentioned a couple of things, because you can click and get to the one thing. You can also click and get to the Miracle Morning and Eat That Frog. All of us have a morning routine, and our jobs are all about lead generation, period. The more leads you generate, the more money you will earn, okay? And so we are in the business of generating leads, but then we need to have follow-up systems in place, and we want to build long-term sustainable relationships, because some people never take the time to do that. Now, one person who's not here to speak for themselves would be Howard Britton. When we think about Howard Britton, the Star Power system, because he's no longer here with us, what is one key takeaway that we can provide to people today who wouldn't be able to meet with him face to face?
So great question. And so I dedicated the book to Howard Brinton. Here's the thing. I never actually met Howard Brinton either. So I never had a chance to meet him. The crazy thing is that I always knew of Howard's system, but it was one of those things where I didn't go, and I just didn't get a chance to do. There's only so many people that you can follow. And I've been out of selling real estate full time for a number of years, because I've been with homes.com, and before that I was with realtor.com. But yeah, so the thing is about Howard is that as I was doing research for this book, a common theme kept coming up. A number of the people in the book have been directly influenced by Howard. And you see that in a lot of their coaching and teaching styles, including Lee Brown, Alexis Boland, Larry Kendall, Sherry Johnson. And so there's Michael Mayer. There's like, and they were not only, and as I was interviewing them for the book, they started to tell me that not only like Michael Mayer, for example, said there was two people in his life that had the biggest influence on him. One was his father, and the other one was Howard Brinton. Now, Michael Mayer's a best-selling author. 7 Levels is huge. And for him to say that, that carries a lot of weight behind it. Larry Kendall said that really that Howard Brinton was the biggest influence in his real estate career. Larry Kendall, Ninja Selling, that to me, I was like, well, as I started hearing this more, I said, I really need to bring this in. The thing is that Howard Brinton is chapter 1. he was one of our first secrets webinars. So it goes back to, I mean, his webinar was from 2008, but as I was going through, and his webinar was all about scripts. The crazy thing is that here we are 13 years later, those scripts are still relevant. They still work. And otherwise I would never have put them in the book, but I'm looking at this like I would use this tomorrow if I was talking to clients. So the takeaway, so his influence is immeasurable, just because there's so many people out there that are still using the principles of star power selling. The one thing that stuck out to me that I had learned from him, we've all heard of the golden rule. You treat others as they as you would like to be treated yourself. Howard had the platinum rule, and the platinum rule was you treat others as the way that they would like to be treated. Like, so it's basically taking the golden rule and just elevating it to saying, look, customer's always right. So I'm going to treat you like I know that you want to be treated, not necessarily how I want to be treated, how you want to be treated. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so even though I never had a chance to meet Howard, he's chapter 1 of the book. I dedicated the book to him. His wife, his widow, is still alive, and I actually reached out to her, and she actually wrote in the beginning, she wrote a nice little love note, so to speak, for Howard, and it's really sweet. So I definitely wanted to include that in there. And Babs, her name's Babs. I just thought it was great to get her involved, and she was so happy that I was writing this book. And other, I wanted to get her blessing on it, and she was so happy that we were doing that. It was great. So yeah, it was a great experience the whole time. The actual writing and going through it, and the interviewing, and just hearing all these different stories from people. So that was pretty nice.
So you mentioned Michael Myers, and Michael Myers was actually the first person I interviewed for Social Selling Made Simple podcast, right? And so, guys, if you're not listening over here on Amazon, I want you to go and subscribe to Social Selling Made Simple. My very first interview was with Michael Myers. And one thing that I took away from his book, The 7 Levels of Communication, was how we should be strategic in our events. So we're getting ready to go back to having live events face to face. As a realtor, I encourage you to reach out to your strategic partners, your lenders, your home inspectors, your title companies, and get them to help sponsor those face-to-face events. It would be ideal to use a local coffee shop and invest some money back in that coffee shop, where you are going to have them help sponsor coffee and give coffee to those who are going back to work or just really want to get out of the house. And allow them to help you incur that cost, and meet with them face to face and give them something new. Now I'm gonna bring in Brian Buffini. Instead of going to do the pop by, let them pop in on you, right? And give them an item of value. And I like how he talked about doing it. You start marketing the event in 1 month, you have the event, and then the following month you start planning for the next event, but following up from the previous month. So it was a whole nice little rhythm and system that he talked about, and it's good to know where he potentially got that information from. So this book is packed full of great information. And what I'm tripping about, right, as I read a lot of us are friends, right? So they say that your network equals your net worth. And so you want to surround yourself with great people. It's a lot of authors here. It's a lot of podcasters here. It's all of the top producers essentially from across the country have helped to contribute to the secrets of top selling agents. Now, I know that I talked about Instagram. Today on Instagram, what we are seeing is that Instagram Reels, if you follow a lot of people, most of these accounts are growing by a minimum of 10,000 new followers per month if they incorporate Reels. And the best person that I followed, one of her tips was take a break. Yeah, she said, take a break. She says, but when you're taking that break, plan for 30 days on Instagram. And you should alternate 1 day a regular post, 1 day a reel, 1 day a regular post, 1 day a reel. And that's what she did in order to grow by 10,000 followers. And when we put this book out, right, I don't even think Instagram Reels might have just started to come out. Like, we couldn't have even talked about it then. But now we have things like Twitter Fleet. There's a story timeline on every single platform. So create that content as an Instagram Reel and then repurpose it to your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, your Twitter fleet, your Pinterest stories, your LinkedIn stories, your YouTube stories. Like, stories is freaking everywhere. And so guess what? Joe, we would have to include that in the next book.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I know that homes.com is doing a consumer facing event, because definitely we want to talk to sellers in today's real estate market, especially around all of the dialogue around inventory. As we look at everything that's going on, we know that delinquency, and let me say this, I think we both played a big role in the foreclosure short sale market, right?
We
So
did. Yeah.
yeah. So as we start taking a look at the fact that delinquencies are up, even though notice of default filings because of the moratorium aren't up, what do you think that today is something we need to look forward to? How should we position, strategize? What's something we can do today that can put us potentially at the forefront of the next change in real estate?
Well, it's funny you should say it, because so your consumer event, you're the star of the show for that. That's our first ever one we're doing specifically for consumers, and that's May 27th, I believe, right? So I think I'm the day before.
I'm gonna look and see.
Because I think I'm going to be doing a foreclosure one the day before that, and so I know that we're back to back on these. We talk about every time I like foreclosures. I know people get interested in them, and my very first book, actually, I actually have 3 books. My first book is called The Foreclosure Revolution. It came out in 2008, self-published, and that book, it's still, you can find it on Amazon, and it's so that's there. That book was something that I had done through years of practicing working with foreclosures. Where I specialize in, when I started off my real estate career, what I would do is I subscribe to these foreclosure lists, and I would get the foreclosure lists. And my approach was I'd go to homeowners and I would say to them, in my sphere, in my area, in my target area, and I would say, hey, look, I can help you. I just wanted to talk to them about the situation, because as they were every state, when I say foreclosures, that's it. Some people call them pre-foreclosures. They were still going through the foreclosure process, so they had not been foreclosed on yet. So what I would do then is I would go to the homeowner and I would talk to them and see what their position was on things, what they were going to do. Like, did they have a plan? Were they working with the bank? Were they going to do a bankruptcy? And so one of the things I would offer was I can list their property for them and sell it fast. And it was a good market, 2000, 2001. I mean, it's a great market. So that was my specialty. And so that was, and a lot of people have a hard time saying, well, how do you approach the homeowner? And that's what I just developed over time. But I could tell you that it's interesting. When we were trying to put together this webinar that's coming up, people were pushing back. They were like, I've been like, this is like the webinar that's like just couldn't get off the ground, because I'm telling you, there's going to be people on this that want to see this webinar. So for example, Deb had been talking to a couple other agents around the country saying, so what do you think about all these foreclosures, all these, people that are behind on their mortgage? What's going to happen? And a lot of agents had said, well, look at the property values are going up. They're just going to sell their house and they'll make money. That sounds easy for a rational person to be saying. But when you're in the process of going through a foreclosure process, a lot of people kind of stick their head in the sand. They don't want to hear bad news. And so you'd be surprised how many people actually don't do anything. And that's what I'm here to talk about is we can solve an inventory issue with this, where like you have an inventory problem. Okay, great. But if someone's behind on their mortgage and you talk to them and they basically don't have a plan to pay back, to either get caught up at the bank, or if they've lost their job and they can't do it, there's an opportunity to create a win-win where you can inform them of, hey, this market is red hot. You're going to get top dollar for your house, maybe more money than you might get a year from now, because people are paying way over asking in many cases. At the same time, so they're going to walk away with the most amount of money they can walk away with. But at the same time, as an agent, you'll get a listing and get a commission from that. It's just, to me, so we're going to be talking about like how this can help solve listing issues for agents, but also, as we talk about with investing, and you have iBuyers out there today in many markets in the country, this is also a way for agents to kind of get into their own investment business where they can offer different options. I could say to them, if you want to sell your house, I can list your house for this price. I think we can get it sold multiple offers in one day. Or we can talk about, hey, I can also buy your house if you want to sell it, to there. So there's all kinds of options. And especially now when you start seeing some of these iBuyers where they actually say, oh yeah, you will sell me the house, which I think is a great idea. Sell me the house today. We'll let you live there for up to 6 months or a year, and you just pay us market price rent. So for a lot of homeowners that might be behind on their mortgage, that might be a pretty good idea for them because they're attached to their home, and this might give them an option to stay longer. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but it's going to really focus on how agents can use these techniques to get in to talk to homeowners that are behind on their mortgage, to get listings potentially, but also to create potential investment opportunities for them or any of their other buyer clients too. So.
You know what? I would wholeheartedly agree. We just actually scheduled the ADPR, which is the Accredited Distressed Property Representative course with the Chicago Association of Realtors, July the 28th and 29th. I've been watching the numbers because I put 5,000 people through that program over a decade ago, and just the delinquencies. I understand that we have a moratorium. I'm definitely thinking we might not see the extension that we think that we're going to see because they really want the economy. They want us back out here working, running the streets as if nothing happened. And so the timing to me, you want to come and hit hard, you know what I'm saying? But it's okay to be early. And what's the name of your book? Because I have 2 ebooks also over here on Amazon about foreclosures and short sales. We're in the process of revamping those because we definitely believe that there's going to be a new opportunity for foreclosures and short sales in the market. The other night, I taught a class, and it was actually just on social media. And somehow it turned into a social media notice of default class because people want the list now. They want to know about the process of foreclosures and short sales. They want to know how to build these bank relationships. And as I tell people, it's one thing to chase a bus. I prefer to have my butt sitting at the bench when the bus arrives, right? Because we prepared in advance. And sometimes it takes people a little longer, right, to get ready, but we've already been through this. We've already been through a foreclosure market, so we have a lot of great information. So we're getting a lot of comments over here. People are stating they bought the book, Joe, yay. Robin, my girl from Tennessee, says, appreciate this. I wish you were a part of my board. D, we wish we were a part of your board too, but guess what? The Chicago Association of Realtors is willing to share me with everyone. They even share me with homes.com. It was the best class. Robin, you thought that was the best class? Girl, we can ready to knock your socks off. And then somebody told us, happy Friday. Happy Friday. You know what, guys, if you have not, I want you to go pick up The Secrets of Top Selling Agents. That actually comes from the Secrets of Top Selling Agent webinar. I think I've been on, I don't know, 5, 6 times. I'm a regular, but we family at this point. So they see me over there quite a bit. I know that we have I've been a part of 2 webinars that had nothing to do with sales. Last year, we had one around race that was very popular. We did another one during International Women's Month that was very popular. And we plan on this first consumer-facing webinar to be freaking phenomenal as well, okay? So make sure that you sign up. So, Joe, what recommendations, in closing, besides the fact we want them to go buy these books, right? And the fact that we want them to watch, it's how many wait, you've been doing this since 2007. It's at least 12 webinars in a calendar year. So that's putting us at what, over 140, it's like 150 freaking webinars.
Yeah, we've been doing 2, actually we've been doing 2 a month since COVID. So yeah, so we used to do 1 a month, and we've been ever since COVID. So since March of 2020, we've been doing two Secrets of Top Selling Agents webinars per month.
Somebody wants to know, is it available in Audible?
It's not. And it's something that we're talking about doing. Yes, we do want to get it. We do want to try to get that into Audible, because I know how a lot of people like to listen to the books. And so that's something that we're definitely talking about. But thank you for asking. I'm definitely going to work on getting that done through the company here. So,
but let me make a recommendation. Even though it's not available in Audible, you can go back and watch all of the webinars. The webinars don't go into as much detail because Joe actually came back on every last one of those webinars and got additional details. So the book is a little bit more detailed. I would not wait for it to come out on Audible. I would want you to take action now. So that means go watch a webinar, because you can just let that audio play in the background. And some of those even come with the PowerPoint. So take action today. As I tell everybody, me and Joe, we don't get ready to get ready. You see, he was writing that book before he even got approval for the book, because he had already published the book. So don't get ready to get ready. I want you to take action today. We are now officially over 1.4 million realtors globally. There's currently 1 million properties available for sale. We have to start coming up with unique ways in order to garnish market share. What I will tell you is I've been diligent in saving my money, because I've been waiting for the next investor opportunity to come about. And I definitely believe it's going to be with foreclosures and short sales. Yep, Harry, go on and take that action right on now. Let's get it done. Bada bing, bada bang. Let me tell you about getting it done. So you see us, we're over here using a tool called Restream.io. Now, I'm a Zoom girl, because Zoom will put makeup on my face. Like I don't even have to do anything to be cute. But today, because I knew I was going to be with Joe and we weren't going to be on Zoom, I had to put some lipstick, some real lipstick. I'm used to Zoom lipstick on these lips, okay? So wherever you are, you want to take action right now. Books, reading a book is one of the easiest things that you can do in order. It's one of the easiest and most inexpensive things that you can do, especially when you have different platforms that have a podcast, that have webinars. All that does is give you other ways to take that information in. So, Joe, in closing, what do you want to tell the audience? I'm so appreciative that you took time out of your schedule to come hang out with your girl.
Well, you know what? Of course, Mark, I do anything. I mean, that for you, I mean, it's like you've done so much for me and for homes.com, and you're just the best. You know, I think the last time getting, the last conference I was at, you spoke at, was the Remax conference. And then we saw each other at Social Media Marketing World. And that's the last, and those were both like within a week of each other. It's the last time I've seen you since. It's been over a year. I can't believe it. But I would say this, the last thing I want to say is, when you think about, yes, they can go back and watch the webinars. Part of the reason why, and the webinars will go through a lot of detail, but each webinar is about an hour long. The reason why I wrote the book is because I don't know how much, if realtors have 13 or 14 hours to, watch every webinar. So I just took the meat and potatoes from each of my favorite episodes and I put them into this. And so, for example, Marky, with your chapter, as you see, it's literally a step-by-step of how to use Instagram. I use Marky's screenshots. I put them in there because I really wanted to say, for somebody like me, I'm not a big I use social media, but I'm not as I don't use Instagram stories as much as I should be. But I wanted to make it so somebody like myself could literally just turn the page. Okay, now I do this. Now I do that. And granted, I had a feeling that they might change the format up and it would screw up my whole chapter. But I wanted to put that in there because, Mark, you do such a great job on that of walking through step by step. And to me, that makes it really easy because if you get the book, you can literally it's a page turner. You can just turn the page and follow the instructions to do that. But for the other chapters, I take the meat and potatoes. So I want to make it easy where you can read 10, 15 pages covering one chapter, and you can cover that in about, 20 minutes, a half hour, and get some really good information out of there. And there's a lot of good references in there too. So there's if you're interested in getting a self-directed IRA, Dirk Zeller provides references. I share those references. Marky, you provided some really good reference. Some of those things like Canva, I still use Canva to this day with my slide decks. And that was a recommendation from that exact webinar. So when Marky lists like 5 or 6 of her favorite apps, which I'm sure some of them have changed, but Canva is one of those ones I think it kind of like timeless. But it's you share those apps in there, and I make sure I shared every single one of your favorite apps so that people can read that, because I know that how much people love the content that you share with people, especially when it comes to like the new hip app that people should be using. And that's me. So I read those, I download those right away because when Marky talks, people listen, and that's so I wanted to make sure that's the kind of analogy I wanted to give, because when people do mention something that I think was very important, I make sure I put that in the book so that as a reader, you can say, oh, that's how I can take action on that. That's how I can do that. So I just want to let you know, Marky, thank you for being a big part of that book and everything you've done. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. But you know what's kind of funny? Someone has come over to Amazon and made a comment. And I'm trying to think, does this person personally know me? Because they said, what would your approach be when selling a pen? Now, I got a short story to tell you guys. I worked at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, okay, for 2 years. It was me going to get a real job while in the world of real estate because I wanted to have benefits, a company car, an expense account. In my interview at Pfizer, I had to sell a pen because the regional manager said, pick something off my desk and sell it to me. So I don't know if this person knows me from my pharmaceutical days, but how would I sell a pen? Well, this is a blue writing device. Actually, it is the best blue writing device because of the efficacy. This is some of the most efficient ink that one would ever use. It'll solve your problems. It will glide. It is permanent and it does not bleed through the paper. And so I just want y'all to know your girl Marky can sell ice to the Eskimos, okay? But I can sell you this pen. It is a cushion, yes. Easy writing, whether you're going to write in cursive or not. They don't even teach cursive right anymore in public schools. And someone else wanted to know, I help them with advising them into forbearance and send a CMA as soon as possible. So when it comes to forbearance, I definitely believe that people should implement that, especially because it does not. Oftentimes, it will not report derogatory credit to the credit report. I definitely think that you need to do a CMA all the time. And in my closing, I am very baffled by how buyer's agents do not run a CMA before submitting an offer. When we think about your fiduciary responsibilities and the fact that you owe them reasonable skill and care, you should never submit an offer without running the comps first. Just because it's listed at a price does not mean that there are comps to support that price. And it feels like the wild, wild west, and people have forgotten about the fact that if a person is going to get a mortgage, there is still an underwriter who will lay eyes on that file. Don't write an offer to get an accepted contract. Write an offer to make it to the closing table. Joe, I appreciate you for being here with me today. This has been a unique and new format for us to share content. And as always, you have been absolutely fabulous. The first thing I do is actually disconnect from Amazon. We've done that. And then someone said, show them the book again. Hey, Sharon, how you doing? I hope to see you in sunny San Diego. But these are the two books, Secrets of Top Selling Agents. This one is the first one. This is the second one. The second one, that's a little bit more orange in it. I'm actually in chapter 2. So Secrets of Top Selling Agents. Go get your 2 copies today of the book, and then you can have the additional support of their webinars. Guys, go make it a great day. This is your girl, Marky Lemons Rao with Industry Syndicate.